I'm bored. Let's read a book. Oh.
This is as far as we go, Shervin had told me as he and Pendrell escorted me to the low walls around the guard complex. Why? Our job is just to get you here. We're outliers and we're not allowed within the walls. That is, unless we are mustered in for training or for special duties. And that does happen. He shrugged, almost dropping his reins. As for us, we keep the way station for stray wizards and let Barbara tell us what to do. What else can we do? He smiled apologetically. I smiled at his expressive face. Since I knew but half the story, I couldn't say whether the restriction made all that much sense. But who was I to quibble? What am I supposed to do? You stable your pony in the main stables. You just ride it through the gates on the left. Then you will go to the building with the green flag and ask to see the sub-commander. They will mumble and mutter, but you just tell them everything and insist on your right to see the sub-commander. Just insist on it. I'm sure you'll find a way to convince them. Both men laughed at that. Their confidence was touching, if misplaced. And I couldn't deny that it had been a relief to ride the last day without having to weave shields or worry about being denounced as a wizard or keep hiding from everyone. So I rode up to the gate where the guard looked me over, then back at the pair of outlier soldiers. What did you drop on me? Orders. He's supposed to see the sub-commander. Shervin didn't exactly keep a straight face. Pendrell looked in the other direction. One of those? The gate guard shook his head, then looked at me. The stable's on your left. Once you get your horse settled, go straight across the yard to the main building. Don't go anywhere else, or someone's likely to draw before they ask questions. The stable was right where it was supposed to be. A solid red brick with a slate roof, and a slight but not overpowering odor of horse manure. Official business? Asked the ostler, practically running me down even before I had my feet on the ground. I nodded. Sign here. He handed me a flat square of parchment and pointed to a line under the words, stable permit. He stepped back. If you can't sign, use your mark. Get an officer or a surgeon to chop this. Otherwise, it's a copper a day. If you lose the permit, it's 2 coppers a day. Me and Gerlach. Mountain pony? Yes. If you want to stable him, you can have the last stall on the right. Since it wasn't really a request, I let Gerlach to the last stall and unsaddled him. I did shield the saddlebags, just as a matter of habit, but I brought my staff with me. The ostler looked at it with respect. Seeing the sub-commander? That's what I understand. Good luck. Tough lady. Go to the red archway over there, under the green flag. With that, I walked less than 100 cubits, where I found another guard standing beside the door under the red-painted archway. Then I looked at the young red-headed guard. I need you to take a message to the sub-commander. The sub-commander of the guard? A message from, what are you? A woodworker, among other things. And I was more of a woodworker than an ordermaster when you got right down to it. A message from a woodworker. The youth in the worked leather and brass vest shook his head in disbelief. She wouldn't even bother to look at you, fellow. The wooden beam framing the open door, the beam against which he leaned, scarcely looked able to support him, let alone in the archway. What was the cracks and the age of the dusty structure? At the moment, I was tempted to dip into chaos and age him and the structure further. But, trusting in Justin in the book, I only sighed. A wager, perhaps? Ha! What would you have to wager except your hide? Say a couple of silvers that you can't touch me with that fancy sword. My old staff against your new sword. Placed my hand on my staff. He didn't even seem to notice its appearance. So surprised was he with my suggestion. That's dangerous, fellow. I might take you up on it. It's a crime to strike a member of the Audric's Guard. Is it a crime to strike your weapon? No. Well, that might make it harder. Say a gold and you can carry my message to the sub-commander. And when I win, you have at least some of my blood and a gold penny. How do I know if you're honest? Because the penalty for being dishonest would likely be my head. You don't sound like a woodworker. That youngster was sharp, almost brilliant. I never said I was. His smile eyes looked me over, and I could see the scheming beginning. I wouldn't if I were you. The sub-commander already knows where I'm from, and there's not one of you that could best her blade. The words didn't come out quite right, but he didn't seem to notice. I managed to keep my face impassive. Sometimes I actually can. Then he swallowed. It took him a moment, but, like I said, the young man was almost brilliant, at least for a Kandarian. You put your staff against her blade. That was some time ago. Doubtless she's improved. Improved or not, he suddenly realized how close he had come to disaster. I could just take your name and leave the decision to her. I inclined my head to him. That might be best. My name's Laris. Of course, that was all I had ever wanted. But nothing anywhere was straightforward. And for whatever reason, I hadn't wanted to demand to see Crystal. Call it stiff-necked pride, whatever. I still had some... Still shaking his head, the red-headed young trooper yelled into the barracks, "Bidick! Get on up here!" As soon as the other young buck, this one heavier, sloppier, and darker, as well as more disapproving, appeared. The nameless young guard marched across the open courtyard, one of the few in Kandar that was actually paved, with level and solid stones, and disappeared into a granite 3-storied building. While I waited, I made a few more mental measurements of the area around the doorway, mainly to test the age of the wood. Since I had an idea for my defense that would not violate the rules of order, since it was strictly creative. Using it wasn't necessary, since the 3 guards marched from the wing of the structure, into which the young guard had disappeared. He followed behind them a moment later. All 4 stopped short of me. The center guard, wearing a clean green leather and a blade that radiated effectiveness, looked at the staff and nodded. "The sub-commander bids you welcome, Ordermaster." "Would you be so kind? You're most welcome." He definitely wasn't used to inviting guests into the guard's domain. I smiled pleasantly. "I appreciate your courtesy and would hope you would be so kind to lead the way." "Ordermaster, oh no." Both the nameless young guard and Bidick looked as white as the face of chaos as I saluted them with the staff and followed the 3 troopers into the granite building, up 3 wide flights of stairs. The door was bound in solid iron, and the knocker would have walked the dead. The dark-haired lady opened it herself, and her eyes did not even flicker as she silently stepped back to let us enter. Crystal's quarters was lavish for a professional soldier's base, with 2 large rooms, a conference room with a large rectangular table, and heavy wooden armchairs, which opened into a covered and railed 3rd-floor balcony, and a bedroom study. Although I only glimpsed her more personal quarters as I stood in the conference room. A large and sturdy oak beam stood behind the door from the main hallway to her quarters. The Ordermaster, Commander. "Thank you, Sacha. You may leave us." Crystal wore her green leather trousers, tighter than in Recluce, with a short jacket over a green leather tunic. The jacket was ornamental, not designed for battle, and bore gold braid across the left shoulder, and matching 4 pointed silver stars on the narrow lapels. I could feel Sacha's eyebrows raising. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this, please like, comment, and subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss out on any of my videos. See y'all in the next one. Goodbye!